to fight the power like Big Chuck.
What's the status, 3?
I'm good, just making the world a better place, that's all.
There's a devil and an angel in my head.
The school system.
There's a devil and an angel in my head. There's a devil and an angel in my head.
The school system calls children kids as baby sheep. You better wake the fuck up or forever sleep. You don't need bars to be in prison, just think. They take cash out of your hand for a digital chip. So if you don't do as you're told, your money will go poof, like it didn't exist. We are almost the Walking Dead without the body bag zipped. This is community revolution in progress, but I'm no crip. As much energy is used to tear down and divide, you can use that energy to uplift and show there's no limit when you reach for the sky. Spells, spells, spells that I am casting. Words I speak are a gift of wisdom unwrapping. A work of art, I am a master craftsman. Painting pictures with the stroke of a pen. Spilling ink on paper.
There's a devil and an angel in my head. When I was fighting the war, the devil was huge and the angel was tiny. When I started to repent, the angel grew and the devil became very small. Small, but he's a stubborn bastard.
With thoughts from within, some say it's the end, something new will begin. Look into the gates of the soul. I am him, I am God. Decisions, decisions, I create and destroy. Broke out this mental prison. Solve a problem and have 10 more like farmers' prescriptions. Life is too short, there's a headstone with your name inscripted. I turn my back to religion, took a seat on a throne. I am the light that torch enemies to skull and bones. I communicate with the other side, open portals, no cell phones. You are the power, why second guess, never think twice. I went from was to was, now I'm Charles Wise. So high, high as a zeppelin, dazed and confused. I'm God incarnated, no El Hakim or Druze.
There's a devil and an angel in my head. When I was fighting the war, the devil was huge and the angel was tiny. When I started to repent, the angel grew and the devil became very small. Small, but he's a stubborn bastard. He gives me bad advice, but my little angel says to me, no, don't listen to that bastard. Anything can happen, like someone upsetting me, for example, and I think about crushing a son of a bitch. The devil says to me, do it. But my little angel says, remember, you're out on bail, and there are cameras. Freedom is wonderful, so be careful. I struggle because there's good and evil in everyone. God gave us free will to choose good or evil.
What it do? Peace, peace, and more peace. Peace of mind, peace of the pie, peace of quiet. Right? So, lesson 3. Tools, clothes, and names. Could have sworn I did this yesterday. I didn't. Hold on. All right. How's everybody doing on this beautiful Friday? Lesson 3. Tools, clothes, and names. Working tools are dictated by the tradition to which you belong. For example, there are 8 working tools, which include a fang, knife, sword, scourge, cords, white handle knife, and pentacle. In the Saxon tradition, there are fewer sax, knife, or sword and spear. If you are creating your own denomination, then you can decide for yourself which to have and which not to have. All tools, after they have been made, are ritually cleansed and purified before use. Yeah, I read this yesterday. I know I did. Knife. Every witch has a personal knife. In many traditions, this is called a thame, pronounced a thame. Oh, a thame. In the Scotch and the Saxon, the knife exception tradition, where it is a single-edged brass knife, quoting from Anglo. Word and Press, 1974. Dr. G. Storm, and in his late Anglo-Saxon manuscripts, quote, iron manifestly takes its power from the fact that the material was better and scarcer than wood or stone for making tools, and secondly, from the mysterious way in which it was originally found in meteoric stones. Yeah, right. It needed a specialist in the skilled laborer to obtain the iron from the ore and harden it. Indeed, we find many ways regard their blacksmiths as magicians. They're studying alchemy. Among them, Wayland stands out of the smith par excellence. The figure of the wondrous Saxon smith symbolizing at first the marvels of metalworking was made the subject of heroic legend. So iron or steel was to use. The size of the knife should be to suit yourself, whatever feels comfortable. This is your personal tool, a magical tool, and as such is something very special. It will not do than to simply go to a store and buy a ready-made knife, though more on that later. The best thing by far is to make your own from scratch. Of course, not everyone is capable of this, but for those who are, let me start by looking at how to make one. If you can buy a suitable piece of steel, use an old file or chisel and work that. Whatever steel you have, it is going to be hard, so your first job will be to soften it for working. Heat the steel till it is a dull red. If you have no other way of doing it, lay it on lay it on the burner of a gas or electric stove. You may have to leave it there with the control turned full on for several hours, but it will eventually heat up into a dull red. Once it has reached that color, turn off the heat and let it cool down naturally. That's all there is to it. It will now be softened and easier to work. Mark on the metal with a pencil the shape you want it to see. With a powdered bandsaw if you have one, or a simple hacksaw, cut out the profile and file off the rough edges. Then start shaping the blade for sharpness. A grinding wheel would come in handy here, though you can work with rough and smooth files. Hold on. My bad, I had to close my door. Too much noise. Now your blade will need to be hardened and tempered. Heat it up again, this time until it is red hot. Then take hold of it with a pair of pliers and plunge it into a bowl of tepid water, not cold, or the blade will crack, or oil. Allow it to cool off, then clean it with a wet and dry paper. Next, to temper it, reheat the blade to a dull red. Again, plunge it, point downwards, into the tepid water or oil, moving it up and down in the liquid. Clean it with wet and dry paper, then heat it up again. Watch the blade carefully this time as it changes colors. It will go to a bright, light straw color, then to a medium straw color. Immediately plunge the blade into water and let it cool off. Don't let it get past the straw color. It would go on to blue, then purple and green. Bam. Watch the point, as that will change color first. At the first sign of bluing on the point, plunge the blade into the water. Note now, the colors appear quickly. Keep the point the furthest from the heat. Once the blade is cold, take it outside and plunge it into the ground a couple times. Now you have moved the blade through the heated it with plunged it with it into the plunge it into and showed it to the air, fire, water, and earth. For the handle, take 2 pieces of wood, draw around the tang, the handle part of the blade, on each of the pieces of wood. Then chisel out the marked section, each one to half the thickness of the tang. Woo, tang, woo. Now I know. When finished, the 2 pieces of wood should lay together. Should lay together perfectly with the tang inserted between them. When you are satisfied they fit well, slightly roughen the inside wood and then spread a good epoxy resin glue all over. Put the tang in place. Press the 2 wooden handle halves together and clamp. When clamping, put on the pressure slowly so as to give a better spread to the glue. Leave clamped for at least 3 days. When removed from the clamp, draw a profile of the handle you want on the wood and start cutting/carving it into shape. Some traditions call for certain signs to be carved on the handle. Even if yours does not, you may wish to add some decoration. I would certainly recommend at least putting your craft name, described later, or monogram on it. You might like to etch something on the blade. This is not too difficult to do. Marking in metal. Melt some beeswax and cover the blade with it. Then cut into the wax with a sharpened scribing tool. A sharpened nail will do the trick. In the way you want the inscription to look. Make sure that you go right through the wax to expose the metal of the blade. Then pour on either sulfuric acid, iodine, or a similar etching agent. Leave for a few minutes. Then hold under running water. The acid will eat into the metal, etching it. Where you have inscribed, but the wax will protect the rest of the blade. So it'll etch it where you inscribed it, but the wax will protect the rest of the blade. After washing off the acid, clean off the wax and you have your etched knife. It would obviously be a good plan to practice first on some scrap metal of the same type as the blade to judge the exact amount of time to leave the acid before flushing it away. It is possible to purchase an etching pen. This looks like a ballpoint pen but contains acid for marking. It will work on steel, brass, aluminum, and copper, and has replaceable cartridges. One such pen is manufactured by the Fowler Company and should be obtainable from any hardware store. An alternate to etching is to engrave the blade. This doesn't give as solid a marking as the acid etching, but is nonetheless effective. Engraving is done just like writing with a pen or pencil, but you use an engraving tool instead. You can purchase one in a hobby store, or as mentioned, simply sharpen a nail to a fine point on a grindstone. A problem with many people have in engraving is in having the tool slip and score the metal on the wrong place. It is necessary to bear down hard on the tool to make an impression. So control is not too easy. One way to avoid this is to place a piece of transparent tape on the blade and mark guide lines on it first with a pen. Then simply follow the lines with the engraving tool. The tape will be no barrier and will stop the tool from slipping. A motorized engraving tool such as a Dremel does a very good job. There are many who, for whatsoever reason, are not able to make a knife as described. Don't worry, you can adapt an existing knife. The main point is that there should be something of you in the athame, or athame. I think that's how it's said. Athame. So get a knife with a double-edged blade, or get one with a single-edged blade, and then grind or file the second edge to it, such as a hunting knife. And remove the handle. Handles are fitted in a variety of ways. Some screw on / off directly. Some have a pommel at the end that screws on and off. Some are even riveted on. However, you have to do it, remove the handle. Now replace it with one of your own making. To do this, you can either follow the directions I gave above for making a handle, or you can pattern it after the handle you have removed. Again, if you wish, you can carve the handle or etch the blade with your craft name in one of the magical alphabets detailed later, or your magical monogram. Some truly beautiful athame have been made and adapted. I have seen, for example, an 18th century short bayonet adapted to become a magnificent athame. I have also seen handles made from deer hooves. Start work on yours now. In some traditions of the craft, Gardnerian, that word, I gotta figure out that's pronounced right. Some traditions of the craft, Gardnerian the knife. The knife may only be used in the circle for the ritual use. In other traditions, like Scottish, the witch is encouraged to use the tool as often as possible. The feeling being that the more it is used, the more mana or power it will acquire. The sword is not essential. The knife can always substitute for it. But while every individual witch has an athame, many covens like to have a coven sword. One for the whole group. The sword is usually used for marking the circle at the start of the meeting, being used by the priests or priestess or whoever casts the circle. It can be made in the same way that the knife is, or you can purchase one. There are certainly many companies that offer replicas of ancient swords these days. If you decide to get a ready-made one, again, do some work on it yourself. In fact, since it is a coven tool, it is nice if the whole coven either get together to make one or join in engraving and decorating it. Other tools. Other ritual tools are the wand, staff, bell, burin, or white-handled knife, cords. And it stops there. Which of these you use, none, some, all, will depend on the path you decide to follow. If you follow one of the established traditions, then it will have been decided for you. If you are starting from scratch, then it may take you a while, weeks, months, perhaps even years, to discover which you really need and which you don't. If you want a wand, there are several options available. Some say it must be of rowan wood. Others say of ash or willow, hazel. You can take your pick. The trouble here is that a lot of ceremonial magic has got mixed up with witchcraft. Not just in the case of the wand, but with other tools and other aspects of the craft also. For example, some people swear that the wand must be exactly 21 inches long, cut from a virgin hazel tree, one that has never borne fruit. In the hour of Mercury, on the day of Mercury Wednesday, etc., etc., etc. Others simply go out and buy a length of wood dowel from their local hardware store and paint it gold. The fact that both wands can work equally well should show that the real magic comes not from the tool, but from within the magician. Or, in this case, the witch. The wand, then, is merely an extension of the operator. As much make your wand whichever way feels right to you. If you feel you need to inscribe it with mystical signs and symbols, do so. Don't worry about what others may say of what you do. As I said in the introduction, there is no one and only one right way. If it works for you, then it is right. As a suggestion, only for a wand, 21 inches is certainly my bad. 21 inches is a convenient length. I said covenant. Another suggestion is a length equal to the length from your elbow to your fingertips. I forgot what that was called. When old school carpenters would do that, from the elbow to the fingertip. Anyway, whichever wood you use, taper it slightly from the base to the tip. You can mark it if you wish by engraving or even by wood burning. Paint it, stain it, or leave it plain. Decorative bands of silver or copper can look attractive. Some traditions drill the length of the wand and insert a metal rod. What I said for the wand applies equally to the staff. The staff can, in effect, be a large wand and is used as such in such traditions as the Scottish Pecti Witta. That's either Pecti Witta or Pecti Witta, or Pecti Witta, or Pesty, or something. I have seen some wonderful staffs decorated with leather, feathers, gems, carved and engraved. All were right for their particular owners. A good length for a staff is equal to the height of its owner. Hardwood seems preferable to softwood, and it should be well seasoned and as straight as possible. The bell is used by some, and I have, in fact, included in the ritual in this book. For centuries, it has been thought to have certain magical qualities. In my book, Practical Color Magic, I talk about vibrations of sound. The clear, high pitch of a small bell used in ritual can cause vibrations that can, in many ways, supplement the power raised and also create harmony among those present. Choose a small handbell with a note that is pleasant. Some bells, especially cheaply produced ones, can have a harsh note to them. Avoid these. If you wish to engrave the bell, do so. Or if it has a wooden handle, you might want to work on that. The burn is simply an engraving tool used to mark the name or sigil/symbol ritually on your magical topaz. Some traditions, like Gardnerian, borrow from ceremonial magic and use a white hilted knife in the same way. I personally do not see the need to regard this instrument as a ritual tool in the craft, any more than I would a file or hacksaw. However, if you feel you want this as part of your complement, by all means include it. A burin is simply an engraving tool with a handle and can be made by fitting a sharpened nail or similar to a wooden handle in the same way as you fitted the athame blade to a wooden handle using the two pieces of wood. Some traditions use cords of different colors to denote the degree of the wearer, but the more important use of cords is in the working of magic. I will therefore leave details of cords till a later lesson when I discuss magic, and especially cord magic. Let me skip up here. writing to the right real quick. In a recent discussion on witchcraft, the question came up, what proof is there that witches always worked naked in this tradition, or is it a recent innovation? There are certainly many early illustrations of naked witches anointing themselves preparatory to their departure for the Sabbath. But there are also illustrations of witches at the Sabbath who are clothed. For interest, I did a little research to see how many, if any, such early illustrations show the witches actually naked at the Sabbath. The result was fairly conclusive. Hans Baldung Grun, the 16th century German, did any number of witch illustration. Witches at work and witches' Sabbath are typical, all showing naked participants. Albrecht Dürer's The Four Sorcerers is of naked witches. The Douse collection, Bodleian Library, Oxford, contains an illustration of the witches' Sabbath on the bracket, with many of the participants naked. Practically all of Goya's paintings of witches show them naked, two witches flying on a broom being typical, and especially interesting is the 1613 Paris edition of Pierre de Lancer's Tableau de Inconstance. Lancer's Tableau de Inconstance des whatever, which shows a great gathering of witches with the circle of dancing nudes in one part, and a nude mother presenting her equally naked child to the horned god in another part. It would seem, then, that there was no hard and fast rule. As is found today, some covens only strip when working magic, but others otherwise wear loose robes. Other covens are naked throughout their rites. bad, everyone. Fortunately, I think my hotspot just burnt out, which is all good. I'm gonna keep reading, but it don't make sense because it says I have a signal. Let me make sure. Anyway, well, the day I can afford the internet is the day this will change. But until then, I have to work around it. My apologies, but let's continue. You just won't be able to what do you mean no sound? Now I gotta go rewind the video to see where there was no sound. Man. Anyway. You probably meant there's no sound when he booted me out. Anyway, I left off on dress. So I'll continue from there. What was the, you guys don't remember what the last part was, do you? Anyway, here, I'll give you guys my bad. Let's see. Oh, only 1 second. Alright, thanks, Faceplant. Alright, dress. Many covens, and certainly the vast majority of solitary witches, work naked, referred to in the craft as sky-clad. Clad only by the sky. This certainly seems a preferred and recommended practice, but there are times when, perhaps due to temperature, you may wish to be robed. It may even be that you just prefer to be robed most of the time anyway. That's all right. Robes can be as simple or as elaborate as you like. I here give you instructions to make a simple one. Those more adept with a needle than I am may elaborate to their heart's content. And it just states here, throughout the 15th century, a popular headdress for women was the tall, conical dunce hat, sometimes with a brim, but more often without. By the early 16th century, there was no longer the fashion at court or in the large cities and towns. The fashion, indeed, the actual hats themselves, eventually found their way out to the villages and farms. Part of the purging by the new religion was to show that the old religion was outdated. Witches were therefore pictured all this time wearing the demoed headgear. They were behind the times, out of fashion. Any typical material will do. The choice is up to you. Polyester, if you must. Silk, cotton, wood. Consider, though, its weight. Will it be too heavy and hot or too light and cool? Also consider how easily it creases and wrinkles. Will it stretch too much? Is it washable? Will it itch? since witches wear nothing under their robes. This last is a serious consideration. Measure yourself from wrist to wrist, with arms outstretched. Then from the nape of the neck to the ground, you will need to buy material of a width by twice the length. Take the material and fold it in half. If the material has an outside and an inside, fold it inside out. Now cut out a piece from each side as indicated. You will be left with what you see. They're showing these figurations. The exact dimensions of the cuts will depend on you. Leave enough for a full sleeve, but don't take it up to make it too tight under the arm. I recommended you experiment with paper first. Cut an opening for your head, as shown. Sew where indicated along the bottom of the sleeves and down the sides. All that remains is to turn it right side out again, try it on, and hem it to a convenient length. If you wish to add a cowl hood, there will be plenty of material available from that initially cut off. Either a pointed or round hood is appropriate. Add a cord around the waist as a finishing touch. Some wear a magical cord, but I am of the opinion that a magical cord is for working magic, not for holding your robe. Things were different during the persecutions, when it was necessary to hide one's magical tools. It is not necessary now. Think carefully about the color of your robe. It used to be that most witches wore white robes, but I'm glad to see more and more color appearing at festivals. In Saxon witchcraft, the priestess or priest wears either white, purple, or deep green, and the others wear greens, browns, yellows, and blues. Though it is not a hard and fast rule, combinations of colors can be attractive, of course, as can a basic color trimmed with silver and gold, or with a second color. Some few witches do wear black, but while acknowledging it to be a very powerful color, in fact a non-color, I personally think that it plays up the misconception of equating witchcraft with Satanism, and, if only for that reason, should be avoided. We are a religion of nature, so let's use the colors of nature, the bright and the somber earth colors. There is actually very little black to be found in nature, but again, in the last instance, it is your choice. Jewelry. In some traditions, certain jewelry is used to signify rank. For example, in Gardnerian witchcraft, female witches of all degrees wear a necklace signifying the circle of rebirth. The third degree high priestess wears a wide silver bracelet with certain specific inscriptions. The high priestess wears a torque-like gold or brass bracelet, and the queen wears a crescent moon crown of silver and a silver buckled green garter. In other traditions, there's different customs. Generally, many witches, though females, especially wear a headband. Necklaces and pendants are very popular, including necklaces of acorns, beans, wooden beads, or similar. Rings often bearing inscriptions or depictions of the deities are also very popular. Certainly, there are some very talented witch jewelers who produce incredibly beautiful items that deserve to be displayed. But some people feel that jewelry has no place in the circle. There are some who feel that it is a hindrance to the raising of power, though in almost a quarter of a century of practice, I have never found this to be true. However, I do respect those who feel this way. If they truly believe that it restricts, then it will restrict. So decide for yourself whether to encourage the use of jewelry, whether to limit its use, or whether to use it to denote position, whether to prohibit it altogether. Horned helmet, where the priest and priestess may each wear a band of copper or silver with the crescent moon, sun, or similar at the front. The priest may wear a horned helmet at certain rites, where he specially represents the god, and the priestess may wear a goddess crown at certain rites where she represents the goddess. These are not difficult things to make. In fact, here are 2 or 3 possible ways to make a horned helmet. It says, 1 is to take a stainless steel or copper mixing bowl of the right size to fit your head. You may have to squeeze the sides inward slightly to make it more of an ellipse than a circle. Any handle, hook, or hanging ring should be removed. Take 2 cow horns and insert and glue wood blocks in their mouths. What? Now drill 2 holes through the bowl. One on either. Who cares about making this freaking thing? I'm gonna skip to inscriptions because it's only a paragraph to tell you how to make a horned hat. I mean, it's not hard. All right, inscriptions. I have talked about engraving and etching your working tools and putting your craft name on them. More on your name and how to choose it later. There are a number of different magical alphabets that can be used for this. Most popular are various of the runic alphabets and the Tibet or Theban or Theban. I think it's the Theban. The Theban form of writing found in ceremonial magic. Let's look at runes first. The word rune means mystery or secret. In early English and related languages, it is certainly heavily charged. Runes were never a strictly utilitarian script. Yeah, utilitarian script. From their earliest adaptation into Germanic usage, they served for divinatory and ritual uses. The Seax Wicca used a runic alphabet, which is as follows. It shows, let me show you. Here's your runic alphabet. Hopefully the sound is good. All right. Let me read this a little. There are to be found more variations of runes than any other alphabet, it seems. Adopted by witches and magicians alike, runic served as a very popular form of occult writing. There are 3 main types of runes: Germanic, Scandinavian, and Anglo-Saxon. They each, in turn, have any number of subdivisions, variations. Looking first at the Germanic, they are basically 24 different runes. Employed through variations may be found in different areas. A common name for the Germanic runes is Futark, after the first 6 letters. TH is 1 letter, P, but whatever. In the Scandinavian, Danish, and Swedish, Norwegian, or Norse, are found 16 runes, again with innumerable variations. The Anglo-Saxon runes vary in number, anywhere from 28 to 31. In foot by the 9th century in Northumbria, we find 33 runes. A common name for the Anglo-Saxon runes is Futork. Same. Oh, that's Futark. This is Futork. Again, from the first 6 letters. Okay. It will be noticed that any of the glyphs can be written backwards, sometimes referred to as a mirror writing. If there are double letters in a word, like Mary or boss, then one of the double letters would be reversed, giving the mirror image. With the single symbols for TH and NG, for example, you can write a 5-letter word like whatever that says, only 3 symbols. They're using the alphabet that I showed. An interesting magical monogram can be made. An interesting magical monogram can be made up by superimposing one runic letter over another for your craft name. For example, Diana would be, you use that alphabet. It is always possible also to reverse a letter, any letter, so that the monogram will not be clumsy. The aim is to make it as simple as possible, yet to incorporate all the letters. Practice with monograms. Aim to get them down to the simplest sigil possible. One thing to remember in writing runes, do keep the characters upright. One reason, apart from just being incorrect to slope them, is that it can cause confusion. For example, in the Seax Wicca runes, a sloping N rune would look like a G. The Theban alphabet, I wonder what that is. It looks like the band. That's what the word looks like. Theban. I think that's Theban. The Theban alphabet is used quite a lot in the craft. In Gardnerian, for example, it is used for writing the high priestess name on her bracelet. It is an attractive form of writing. The runes are angular with no curves because they were used for carving into wood and stone. But the Theban was written on parchment as well as being engraved and etched on talismans, so could be more elaborate. The Theban alphabet is depicted in this figure over. It shows. We'll speak more on this alphabet and several others in a later lesson on charms and talismans. So let me show you this. People want to screenshot it. Okay. It says to know a person's name is to have a hold of power over them. For to know the name is to be able to conjure with it. Sir James Frazer tells the story of Isis obtaining the most secret name of Ra, the great Egyptian sun god, so that she might use it to make herself a goddess. She fashioned a serpent from the spittle of Ra, and the earth on which it fell, and laid it in his path, so that it bit him. He cried out for help from the children of the gods, with healing words and understanding lips, whose power reached the heavens. And Isis came with her craft, whose mouth is full of breath of life. Whose mouth is full of the breath of life, whose spells chase pain away, whose words maketh the death to live. Ra told her how he had been stung while out walking, and Isis said, "Tell me thy name, divine father, for the man shall live who is called by his name." Ra told her many of the names by which he was known. All the time growing weaker, Isis, however, refused to heal him, repeating, "That's why not thy name that thou speakest unto me. O tell it me, that the poison may depart, for he shall live whose name is named." Finally, Ra gave Isis his true name, and she caused the poison to flow away. She became the queen of the gods, so she knows Ra and his true name. Huh. Peace, Crystal Witten, Agnostic Principles, Faceplant, Kimba. Trying to see. Fools and Tools, Lucid, Maggot. Peace to the whole chat. Now we're going to go into your witch name. You are starting your life anew, in effect. Why not start it with a name of your choosing, than rather that one that was given to you by your parents, and which you may not care too much for? Many witches choose a name which they feel reflects their personality or in some way describes their interests or feelings. Names are important. It used to be that to know someone's name to have a power over them, for if you knew the name of your enemy, you could conjure with it. That's wild. Now it makes sense why rappers in that craft of spelling create a name. It says in Borneo, the Dayaks believe very strongly in the power of a name. A mother there will never call her child home after dark, using his real name in case of an evil spirit should learn the name and call the child itself. Oof. The mother will only call the child by a nickname. Your witch name need not to be kept a solemn secret, but at least respected. Use it only with other witches, or at least only with those close to you. And even then, you got to be careful. Of course, you may be quite happy with your regular given name. If you want to use that as your witch name also, that is fine. However, check it out numerologically, as described below, before you make a final decision. Some witches take names from history or mythology, especially those names associated with their branch of the craft. Welsh names as Welsh traditions, Saxon names in Saxon traditions, etc. Others make up names. You will be called by your name only. It is not used with the prefix witch, as in Witch Morgan or Witch Hazel, as sometimes found in cheap novels. In some traditions, the prefix lady or even lord is used. In Gardnerian, the high priestess is always referred to as lady in the name. When speaking directly to her, it is also proper to say, "My lady." She is the only one so called in that tradition, and no male in Gardnerian is ever called Lord. Whichever name you choose or feel especially drawn to, check out to see if it is in fact right for you. You do this through numerology. There are a number of different systems of numerology. The below is probably the most common use. Follow it step by step. 1. Find your birth number by adding the digits of your date of birth. If you were born June 23rd, 1956, your number should be 6/23/1956 equals 6 plus 2 plus 3 plus 1 plus 9 plus 5 plus 6 equals 32. Bring that down to a single digit. 3 plus 2 equals 5. Then 5 is your birth number. Note, be sure to include the 19 of the year, 1956. There are still people alive who were born in the late 1800s, and it won't be long before we are in the 2000s. So it is important. And this book was written a while ago. It says 2. Find the name number of the name you have chosen. This is done by equating all the letters of the alphabet with the first 9 numbers. Oh, okay. So they're doing it like this. You know. All right. Suppose you like the name Diana. Using the above chart, D equals 4. What? Why is the 1 there? Oh, oops, that's an I. D equals 4, I equals 9, A equals 1, and N equals 5. And A equals 1. Therefore, Diana, 4 plus 9 plus 1 plus 5 plus 1 equals 20. But your birth number was 5. For your witch name, you should aim for a name that matches your birth number. In the above example, you should do this by adding a 3 letter to Diana, a C, L, or U. So you could have perhaps Dikana, Delana, or Dianu, all of which would then add up to 5. If you don't care for any of those, think again or another possible name and check it out. It may take a while to find a name or choice of names that you like and that are numerologically correct, but it is well worth it. Perhaps the best method is to get an assortment of appropriate letters and keep rearranging them until you hit an attractive combination. From the above Diana example, Nadia might be a possibility. I will be looking more at numerology in lesson 9. Why does the name have to match your birth number? Because your birth number is unchanging. People can change their names, addresses, etc., but they cannot change their date of birth. By choosing a new name that matches that birth number, you are then aligning yourself with that same vibration. The vibration of the moment you choose to be born. You chose to be born, not choose. As I mentioned above, there are several different systems of numerology. This is probably the most popular and I have found the most accurate. But if you feel more comfortable with a different system, then use it. The important thing is, whichever system you use, attune your name to your birth number. skip these. Lesson 4, getting started. Rites of passage. Peace, Danny Skylark. Peace, Dom. Rites of passage. A rite of passage is a transition from one state of life to another. Birth, marriage, and death are examples. Van Genet, a Flemish anthropologist, was the first to so label such rituals in 1909. The main rite of passage that you'll be concerned with is that of initiation. It is important that you be aware and you have some understanding of different parts of the initiation ritual and its symbolism. Okay. It says a typical initiation ceremony is the one found in Gardnerian witchcraft. It is in 4 parts. The first part is known as the challenge. The initiate is asked if she really does want to go through with it. This may seem a simple and needless question, but from first making contact with the coven, it may have taken anywhere up to a year for the would-be witch to reach the point of initiation. This time is necessary from the craft's point of view to sort out the wheat from the chaff. Those who are sincerely interested in witchcraft as a religion, as opposed to those who have all the wrong ideas, believing it to be devil worship, looking for wild orgies, wanting to join just for kicks, etc., etc. So after the very long waiting period, during which she has been reading and studying, the initiate is at last there on the threshold. She looks about the inner sanctum for the first time. At the flickering candles, the smoking incense, the stem-faced priest pointing a sword directly at her. It may seem a little ominous to her, a little frightening. It would be small wonder if she then and there decided she would not bother going through with it at all. Perhaps she'd take up macrame instead. If such would be her decision, she is free to turn around and walk away. But after the long waiting period, there are few, if any, who decide that way. So after the challenge, the initiate is blindfolded and bound and led into the circle. There is an oath of secrecy taken by the initiate. In the majority of traditions, once this has been taken, the blindfold can be removed. And shortly afterwards, the cords. It is strictly an oath of secrecy. There is no repudiation or repudiation, whatever that means. There is no repudiation of any previous religion. There are no crosses to spit upon, no pacts to sign in blood, no goats' buttocks to kiss. After the oath comes the showing of the tools. Each coven has a number of so-called working tools. These are presented one by one to the initiate by the priest. As each one is presented, its use is explained. And to show she has understood the explanation, the initiate lays her hand briefly on the tool. At the end of the ceremony, the initiate is taken by the high priest around the circle to the 4 cardinal points. At each of these, she is presented to the gods, who are believed to be there witnessing the event as a newly made priestess and witch. In its most general sense, initiation denotes a body of rites and oral teachings arranged to bring about a very definite change in both the religious and the social status of the person undergoing the ritual. There is a catharsis, a spiritual cleansing. The person becomes, in effect, another person. The central theme of an initiation, any initiation, whether it be witchcraft, primitive tribal, or even Christian in form, is what is termed palingenesis. Palingenesis. I think it's palingenesis, a rebirth. You are ending life as you've known it to this point and are being born again and reborn with new knowledge. All initiation rituals follow the same basic pattern, as this is worldwide. Australian Aboriginals, Africans, Amerindians, Eskimos, Pacific Islanders, witches, ancient Egyptians, Greeks, Romans, to name but a few, all include the same basis element in their rites. First comes a separation. With many people, this is a literal separation from friends and especially from family, from all they have known so far. Of times, there is a special hut, cave, or building of some sort where the novices are taken. There they begin their training, a cleansing. Externally and internally is the next important part. With some primitives, this include complete removal of all the body hair. It would certainly include a period or periods of fasting and sexual abstinence. In certain areas, there are also various dietary taboos prior to fasting. A symbolic death is one of the major parts of initiation, though some primitives do not realize that it will be only symbolic and fully expect to actually be put to death. With some tribes, it does include actual dismemberment, perhaps circumcision, tattooing, the amputation of a finger, or the knocking out of a tooth. Ritual scourging is another more common symbolic form of death, or the death could take the form of a monster, perhaps the tribe's totem animal, swallowing the initiate. After death, after death, the initiand, I had to figure that word out. After death, the initiand then finds himself in the womb, awaiting his new birth. In some societies, he finds himself in a hut, which represents the world. He is at its center. He inhabits a sacred microcosm. The initiate is in the Chthonian Great Mother, Mother Earth. There are innumerable myths of great heroes, gods and goddesses descending into Mother Earth. Remember the myth of the Seax Wicca goddess, given in Lesson 2, and triumphantly returning. Within that earth womb, they invariably find great knowledge, for it is often the home of the dead who traditionally can see into the future and therefore know all things. Therefore, the initiates, by virtue of being in the womb, will learn new knowledge. This is underscored in the Congo, for example, where those who have not been initiated are called Fanga, the unenlightened, and those who have been initiated are the Nganga, the knowing ones. After receiving this new knowledge, the initiate is reborn. If he has been swallowed by a monster, he may either be born from it or disgorged from its mouth. The mouth is often a substitute for the vagina. In some African tribes, he will crawl out from between the legs. Oh, hold on. All right. Lost my spot. He crawled out from between the legs of the woman of the village, who stand in a long line. He is now given a new name and starts his new life. Interestingly enough, there are several parallels of this renaming to be found in the Roman Catholic Church. A new name is taken at confirmation. On becoming a nun, a woman takes a new name. A new name is given to a newly elected pope. On excavating at Pompeii, there was found a villa named the Villa of Mysteries. This was where everyone in ancient Italy originally went to be initiated into the Orphic mysteries. In the initiation room itself are frescoes painted around the walls showing a woman going through the various stages of initiation. In this instance, the symbolic death was the scourging. Part of the revelation of knowledge came from the initiate scrying with a polished bowl. The final scene shows her naked, dancing in celebration of her new birth. The scenes are typical of the palingenesis of initiation. The full initiation into witchcraft contains all the above elements. There is not quite the literal separation at the start, but you will, of course, have separated yourself from others in the sense of absorbing yourself in your studies of the craft. You will also spend much time alone, meditating on what you are about to undertake. You will cleanse yourself by bathing and fasting. Only bread, honey, and water are allowed for 24 hours prior to the actual initiation and by sexual abstinence. At the ritual itself, rather than any rigorous symbolic death or dismemberment, you will experience a blindfolding and binding, which symbolize the darkness and restriction of the womb. As you are born, these restrictions will fall from you. You will gain new knowledge as certain things are revealed to you, and then receive a new name. You will be welcomed to your new life by your brothers and sisters of the craft. The full initiation is a very moving experience. Many claim it to be the most moving of their entire lives. The unusual process is that you find a coven and after a trial period are accepted into it and initiated. By supposing you are starting from scratch, a group of friends who are going to form their own coven and basically start their own tradition. How does the first person get initiated so that she or he can initiate the others similarly? If you are a solitary, not wanting to join a group, how do you go about it? The answer is through self-initiation. Some years ago, the majority of witches, myself included, frowned on the very idea of self-initiation. We didn't stop to think of what might have been done in the old times for those living miles from any coven, or how did the first witch get initiated. Today, some of us, at any rate, are more enlightened. The self-dedication is exactly that. It is a dedicating of oneself to the service of the gods. Damn, that's going to be a problem. It does not contain all the elements we have mentioned above, but is none of the less a moving experience. A full coven initiation may always be taken at a later date, if you so desire, of course, but note that it would not be mandatory, just a matter of personal preference. A question often asked is, how valid is self-initiation? To some traditions, it is not valid at all, though one might question the whole validity validity, one might question the whole. I can't even say it now, man. That's crazy. One might question the whole validity, whatever, man, of those traditions themselves. Certainly, you couldn't self-initiate yourself as a Gardnerian, for example. But the point here is, how valid is it to you? If you are sincere, if you wish to become a witch and to worship the old gods, if you have no ulterior motives, it is valid. And don't listen to anyone who says it's not. Obviously, if you want to be a part of a particular tradition, and that tradition has its set initiation rite, as with Gardnerian, as I just mentioned, then you must go through that particular rite to join that tradition. But no one tradition has the right to say what is correct or incorrect for another. It seems to me that far too many people get hung up on the line of descent, who initiated whom and through whom, rather than getting on with the business of worship. One of the oldest of the modern traditions is the Gardnerian, and that in its present form is only about 35 years old as of this writing. Not very old when we look at the whole picture of witchcraft. So if a Gardnerian initiation, for example, can be considered valid, then so can yours. I'm just going to read circles, because it's not long. A Roman ambassador in a foreign country would draw a circle around himself with the staff to show he should be safe from attack. The Babylonians drew a circle of flour on the floor round the bed of a sick man to keep demons away. German Jews in the Middle Ages would draw a circle around the bed of a woman in labor to protect her from evil spirits. The use of a circle to mark the boundary of an area which is sacred is very ancient. Stonehenge, it says. But the circle not only keeps the unwanted out, it also keeps the wanted, the raised power, the magical energy in. The dimensions of the circle depend entirely on who is drawing it and for what purpose. In ceremonial magic, where the magician is conjuring entities, the exactness of the circle and everything within it is critical. But there is the other end of the scale, as it were, in the old days, when the villagers would get together to give thanks to their gods. They would simply mark a rough circle on the ground, usually very crudely drawn, and use it whether accurate or not. Its purpose was merely to designate a space to be hallowed for the rites, a place special for that purpose. Your circle does not have to be painstakingly accurate as the ceremonial magicians, though more on this lesson in lesson 11, magic. Yet it is drawn with a certain amount of care and exactness. The Coven circle is 9 feet in diameter. The individual circle is 5 feet. The drawing of the circle starts and finishes in the east and is always drawn clockwise or diagonal. If you are meeting outdoors, then the circle is actually marked on the ground with the sword, as the priestess walked around. Indoors, the circle should not be marked on the floor with the length. Indoors, the circle should first be marked on the floor with a length of white cord with chalk, or if you have a permanent temple, it can be painted in white paint. But the priestess will still walk around with the sword, starting and finishing in the east, marking it and directing power into it through the point of the sword. On the line of the circle stand 4 white unlit candles, one in the north, one in the east, and one in the south, and one in the west. If you wish, there may be additional candles already lit between these four. They should stand around the circle but outside the line. They would be there purely for extra illumination if required. The first ritual performed always is what in Saxon witchcraft is called erecting the temple. Other traditions call it variously opening the circle, casting the circle, or similarly, in this ritual, the circle and all within it is properly purified and consecrated. For now, I would just deal with casting a circle sufficient for your self-dedication or initiation, presuming that you have not yet even made your athame, which is a knife. This casting is of the most basic. You will need your altar furniture, candle, censer, goblet or drinking horn, salt and water, libation dish, and if you wish, figures representing the deities. There should be wine in the goblet. Alright, I think I'll chill there, man. I don't want to bore everyone. You want me to keep going? The next part is self-dedication. What do y'all want? Are you very interested in this or what? First one to answer, first one to answer. Should I open the panel or keep going? Know what? Open the panel or keep reading? Let me see how long this self-dedication is. If it ain't that long, I might just finish it. It's 2 pages long. Yeah, I'll just read it, get it out the way. Alright, so I'll finish reading this and then I'll open the panel up. Self-dedication. This ritual should be performed during the waxing moon, as close to the full moon as possible. For the ritual, I would suggest you be completely naked, wearing no jewelry of any kind. Ow! Along with the rest of the altar furniture, there should be a small dish of anointing oil standing between the water and the salt. The altar is set up in the center so that when you stand in front of it, you are facing east. The circle is indicated by cord, chalk, or paint about you. Sit or kneel before the altar with your eyes closed. Concentrate your thoughts on seeing in your mind's eye yourself enclosed in a ball of white light. Direct your energies to make that light expand to completely fill the circle. Hold it for a moment and then relax, opening your eyes. Stand and move to the east. Point your right forefinger, left if left-handed, down at the circle line. Walk slowly around the circle. It says diaso, which means I think clockwise. Yeah. Drawing the circle through the power being directed down your arm and off your pointing finger. When you have been all the way round, return to the altar. Light the altar candle and the incense. Now take the altar candle and move around the altar. Light the east candle from the altar candle. Continue and light the south, west, and north candles. Continue on back to the east, then back to standing in front of the altar and replace the altar candle. Now, again, concentrate your energies down your arm and finger and place the tip of your forefinger in the salt. Say, salt is life. Let this salt be pure and let it purify my life. As I use it in this rite, dedicated to the God and Goddess in whom I believe. Now take 3 pinches of salt and drop them, one at a time, into the water. Stir the water 3 times round, clockwise, with your finger and say, let the sacred salt drive out any impurities in this water, that together they might be used in service of these deities throughout these rites, in any time and in any way I may use them. Take the bowl of salt water to the east, and walking clockwise, sprinkle it on the line of the circle. Replace it on the altar. Take up the censer, and again, from the east, go round the circle once more, swinging the incense burner along its line. Return to the altar and replace it, and say, the sacred circle is about me. I am here of my own free will and accord, peace and love, and in love. Well, no, it says the sacred circle is about me. I am here of my own free will and accord, in peace and in love. Dip your forefinger into the salt water and mark a cross in the circle on your forehead. Huh? In the position of the third eye between the eyebrows, then mark a pentagram on your chest over your heart and say, I now invite the gods to witness this rite I hold in their honor. Hold your hand with fingers pointed up, high in salute, as you now say, God and Goddess, Lord and Lady, Father and Mother of all life, guard me and guide me with this circle, within this circle, and without. Guard and guide me within this circle and without it, in all things, so mote it be. Kiss your hand to the Lord and the Lady, then take up the goblet and the spill of little the wine on the ground, or into the libation dish as an offering to the gods, with the words, the Lord and the Lady, take a drink, and then replace the goblet on the altar with the words, now is the temple erected, I shall not leave it, but with good reason, so be it. Sit or kneel before the altar, head bowed, and meditate for a few minutes. Excuse me, that was rude. Sit or kneel before the altar, head bowed, and meditate for a few minutes on the God and the Goddess, the craft, and what the old religion means to you. Then stand and lift both hands high and above the altar and say, Lord and Lady, hear me now. I am here, a simple pagan holding thee in honor. Far have I journeyed and long have I searched, seeking that which I desire above all things. I am of the trees and of the fields. I am of the woods and of the springs, the streams and the hills. I am thee and thee of me. Lower your arms. Grant me grant me that which I desire. Permit me to worship the gods and all that the gods represent. Make me a lover of life and all things. Well do I know the creed, that if I do not have the spark of love within me, then I will never find it without me. Love is the law, and love is the bond. All this I honor above aught else. Now, hold on. Let me pause for a minute. You got to ask. You can do this on your own. I don't know why they're asking the gods. That's wild. It's the problem I have with religions. Is, you know, I could see paying respects to your ancestors and all that. That's fine, but worshiping somebody else is wild to me. People worship these gods over their parents, but we'll get into that. Kiss your right hand and hold it high. No weapon against me shall prosper. My Lord and Lady, here do I stand before you, naked and unadorned, to dedicate myself. Ow! To thine honor, ever will I protect you, and that which is yours. Let none speak ill of you, for ever I will defend you. You are my life, and I am yours. From this day forth, I accept and will ever abide by the wicked Rite, and it harm none. What the hell's going on? Do what thou wilt, so be it. Take up the goblet and slowly pour that remainder of wine onto the ground, saying, as this wine drains from the goblet horn, so let the blood drain from my body, should I ever do aught to harm the gods, or those in kinship with their love, whatever. Dip your forefinger in the oil, and again make the sign of the cross and the circle on your third eye and the pentagram over your heart. Then also touch the oil to your genitals, right breast, nipple, left breast, and then genitals again. This last forms the sacred triangle, symbolizing the drawing of power up from the root of that power. Although I have not yet given the full details of the regular erecting the temple ritual, nor had you consecrate your tools, I will divert for a moment to follow this self-dedication with the full Coven initiation ceremony for the sake of the completeness of this. Subject, next lesson, I will continue from where I left off. So tomorrow I will begin with the Coven initiation. Let me see. Man. Okay, so we'll chapter 4. I hope that's the last part of this chapter too. Maybe I should just finish it. Why is my screen turning off, dude? It shouldn't be doing that. Lesson 5, Covens and Rituals. There's one part of here, man, that had the symbols and everything. Maybe that's way later. Maybe I should just finish the Coven initiation and then I'll open the panel. As with all of the rituals in this workbook, they are presented as patterns, blueprints, which you may either adopt or adapt. You will see that this initiation rite contains all the elements I have previously discussed. If you decide to write your own, I urge you to follow the general pattern. In this ceremony, I have written it as for a priest initiating a female. It can obviously be adapted for reversal of the roles. In virtually all traditions, male initiates female and female initiates male. It is usual for the initiate to be naked in this rite. If the Coven usually works naked, then of course this is fine. However, if the Coven is usually robed, then the initiate should either be the only one naked, or should wear a robe that can be opened down the front, as and when indicated. Even robes, Covens usually wear nothing under their robes. The initiation can take place with all the Coven present, with only the priest, priestess, and initiate, or with priest, priestess, 1 or 2 assistants, and the initiate. The Coven should decide which method they prefer. The below ritual is written for priest, priestess, 2 assistants, whom I shall call maiden and squire. That's squire, sorry. Maiden and squire, and initiate. In addition to the usual altar furniture, There is a dish of anointing oil between the water and the salt, and a red 9-foot length of cord, and a blindfold on the altar. The priestess goddess crown and the priestess horned helmet rest beside the altar. The initiate wears no jewelry of any kind, nor makeup, and waits in a room outside the temple room. Anointing will be done as described in the self-dedication. A Celtic cross in the circle is drawn slightly above and between the eyes. In the position of the third eye, a pentagram is drawn over the heart. An inverted triangle is marked by touching the genitals, right breast, left breast, and genitals again. The erecting temple ritual is performed in the usual manner. The bell is rung 3 times, and then it goes on to do the ritual. It says, priestess, let there be none who suffer loneliness, none who are friendless and without brother or sister, for all may find love and peace within the circle. And then the priest says, with open arms, the Lord and Lady welcome all, and blah, blah, blah. If y'all want to pause this, go read it. It's just their ritual. Hold on, I think there's more. I don't want to act out the ritual. That's the problem I have. Then it shows the methods. Yeah, I'm not gonna, you know, that's it. I'm not gonna sit there and read out their fucking ritual. Tomorrow I'll start with lesson 5, covens and rituals. The covens and the different degrees, and symbols, and all that stuff. I know most probably don't like my reading and stuff, but hey, I like it. I guess that's all that matters, eh? That's the only problem I like really have with the witchcraft is the religious part, man. And conjuring up deities you have no business doing. Um, I've seen people that I know that practice what's that called? Spanish people practice. I said it yesterday. Santa Maria and other. They be conjuring shit up, man. They don't look normal. They look stressed. And then they start doing drugs because all the voices that are in their head. People think they know what they're doing. And they make a wide mistake. It's like I said in the book, and I've said before I even read this book, a lot of things in this book I've said, like, it was wild in chapter 2 or lesson 2. It said, it talked about the phone ringing, and before the phone rings, I thought that was wild. And then I've always said, man, you're the power. These spirits people conjure up have no. If you conjure up the spirit, you have more power. You know. The problem is that spirit putting strain on your life, and you are the power. Why do you need to conjure spirits up? If you have the power to conjure them up, obviously you have more power than them. Thank you, Three Fingers. The Three-finger discount. So if y'all want to come up, the link is there. I think it's funny how people think witchcraft is devil worship. That goes to show how they're not. They speak on something they don't know about. And that's why I look into stuff, man. Read, because I want to know what I'm up against in certain positions. Let's see. I had some couple of cool pictures. Somebody come up. I should have kept reading. Like yesterday, I made that mistake. I stopped reading, opened the panel, and no one came up. Man, I feel people should be fucking fighting each other to come up. No, I'm joking. Don't do that. Dom said hi again. Where you going, Dom? Can't escape. Fuck. Oh, you got time, Dom. You know, I was looking at this picture yesterday, and I couldn't help when you see the sine wave or the energy. It looks like the serpent or a snake, right? But it also looks like a sperm or tadpole. It's Thor's hammer. That's Thor's hammer. Light spectrum and the wavelength. That's why Thor's hammer is shaped like that, shooting the light sound out of it. The Tesla symbol. Oh, the sign of femininity. That also is the Tesla symbol. You're right. I didn't think of that one either. Huh. What's up, Dom?
Good morning, Charles.
How's everything?
I would like to think it's going well, actually. Probably going to go for a hike in a bit.
Nice. That's what I gotta do. Get off my ass.
Take off those shoes.
Nice hike.
Do some barefooting.
Yep. See, the problem I have is I defeat myself before I even get up and walk. But I'm not bullshitting, because it's if I showed you like how to get to the beginning of the trail, it's like, man, being out of shape, going up this hill, you would understand more, or understand more. The hill you got to go up, and then it's another 2-mile walk to get to the top. And I looked the other day on Google Earth to see what the setting looks like with the reservoir. To see, and it actually changed. I was shocked to see where the road you go up, they added another road. It's like, damn. So that means, I don't know. It used to be nice back in the days. Everything has changed.
Okay, so can I remove one word instead of bullshit? Belief systems. What stories do we feed ourselves to deny ourselves of something that pretty straightforward? It can be done, but I get it. There's things that probably prevents that. But what stories are we telling ourselves? Hence belief systems. Out of shape. It's too far. Them. Us.
Excuses.
Yeah, of course. Excuses, justifications. It's not like as though I don't have a whole bunch of them. I got lots of them. But again, to talk about it is probably one of the more simpler things to do.
I'm always at war with my inner self.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not necessarily a war, you know. Sometimes I even argue with my higher self, like, what do you want from me?
Mm-hmm.
And the voice will answer.
Yeah.
Say, stop being a bitch. Fucking get up and get out there.
Well, sometimes you have to be a bitch. You got to be in heat to motivate yourself. You know, that codependent that we have going on, whether it's, how do I put it, Charles? We have that hate-love relationship. But you have to accept the sweet with the sour. Those success that you have, you got to be prepared to say, okay, so how am I going to interpret this when there's some failures? Again, it's just descriptions, not to take away from each individual's experience. But when we try to tell each other stories, I use the word story, we think for some reason they should cult up with us. It doesn't work that way. Those are your stories, what you learn from them. And then once you realize that, then you can start stripping the layer of onions and realize, well, then therefore the thoughts aren't even mine. I said, bingo. You're starting to peel that onion kind of ideal. Now, somebody might get upset when they hear somebody like yourself or me or other talk. I said, but that's not your story to tell. That's mine. The only thing you could do is respect me by at least hearing it. People are very combative with other people's stories. I wonder why. Why? Philosophy. I wonder why you're combative. Well, okay. But again, Charles, you were talking about, I just mentioned something about going hiking. You know, it benefits the vessel. It might even give me some different oxygen, especially if I get the chance to go into the forest. Different type of oxygen at that point.
Yeah, I just appreciate being raised, you know, going hiking and camping here and there, even going to the powwows and learning the connection that not even school, you know, would teach to have a connection with Mother Earth. It's more, to me, having a connection with Mother Earth is important.
So everything has a something to teach from. So somebody, let's say they have to bus to a schooling system or walk to a schooling system. Busing, you probably get to do daydreaming through that bus's window. Walking to school, the teaching's already being done. You're walking in nature. But to actually go to your end destination, to think that's the result, it's like going to, I don't know, some amusement park. It's the destination that you learn the most, not just the end goal. That's the conditioning that goes on, even though all of it's conditioning to a certain point. It's when you start seeing beyond the closeness and far, you start seeing the side kind of ideals and say, oh, never really thought of those things before. Of course, because you never allowed it to go across your thoughts. I don't have thoughts of speaking. Well, I probably have the thought of speaking it, but I don't actually speak Mandarin or Sanskrit. But I do have the thought that those languages do exist. So I really wouldn't know how they would serve outside of me saying, well, it serves that I know about them. Doesn't mean I understand them. So you're always experiencing, Charles. You're sharing also at the same time. But sometimes we go on our journeys with already that preset, but I have my likes or dislikes, right and wrongs first. Well, then you're not truly exploring that journey. You're trying to fit in a square with a circle, or vice versa. And that could be on any topic. It's not just about spiritual topics or material topics. Was it Bruce Lee? Go ahead.
I was kind of disappointed to hear. I kind of knew witchcraft was a religion, but me personally, I'm not looking to join a coven for the most part, and I'm not looking to use statues and any of that stuff. I do have an altar though, or not necessarily an altar, kind of. People who passed away, all my friends and family, but not to say it's not good to learn that stuff, because you never know what you're up against.
Okay, so let's say you don't want to learn witchcraft, but that would imply that you must already have a craft. The craft of language.
True, which is a tool used in witchcraft.
Yeah, the witch and wizard kind of ideals, kind of back in the days of alchemy. It still is alchemy. We're in alchemy, and some people talk about the fallen ones and their offsprings. Again, it's usually people that out of ignorance were prosecuted or worship it unaware. But once you realize you have many crafts, to make a basketball hoop is a craft. To be able to dribble a basketball is a craft.
Yeah, that's wild that they were persecuting because people were practicing a different. And that's a main problem I had with Christianity, religions is, when a preacher or whatever people want to label the person or individual speaking, when they say their religion's right and everyone else is wrong. That's a serious issue.
Okay, so let's say the priest, or you're just using that as an example, priest, cardinal, pope, or whatever. They're aware of what these other people are doing with energy. The fact that they already have the masses in their religion, that's one craft. And they're going to wield their people that follow them to destroy those other ones. They're not doing the damage. The masses are doing it out of ignorance, not realizing they've already been culted up, crafted up, whatever word they want to use. You know, so, but yet to blame the opposing side when the one side says, listen, I'm a shamanic, I'm a mystic, even to say the word is waste of energy. A person will say, if you're really seeking that information, you'll see that in others. You're looking for somebody that understands how the signs work. You will be pulled to that. But most people go out of curiosity because we're living in an age of information. So they figure just because we can read about it or type it, in this case, writing, keep it, or speak about it, my apologies, speaking about it, that therefore that's half the work. No, it's not. It's not even a scratch. But people that do all the prosecution are the masses. They reinforce it. I don't agree with religion. I agree with religion. I hate state. I love state. I think the earth is this. I think the globe is this. Okay. No, I say that out of just, cutting ties from it, because I realize that's when it becomes a mind fuck. And then you try to reinforce it by saying, okay, I've already gone in there. I don't agree with things. So I'll do everything in my power to look for things that adds to that. Dare not somebody try to give me a different view of that, then I'm going to have to defend or attack it. That's the perpetual cycle I hear most people go into. I know that of myself. I've just chosen just to be the observer of those things, opposed to always experiencing those things. And again, things are thoughts. And what is thought? It's the language of consciousness. I'm just using words to give breadcrumbs to things. You can use whatever word to interchange it. But once you're in that thought, or whatever you want to call it, you should be able to join those things, or at least know enough that somebody can aid you in that. But most people aren't teachable, Charles. I'm sorry to say that out loud. Most people aren't teachable. The reason why, because they're programmable.
That's deep right there. Most people aren't teachable. Why? Because they're programmable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because most people are in their masculine energy. They ignore their feminine energy. They'll say shit like, I want to be positive, but ignore negative. What do you think the negative energy is? I want to be yang, but not yin. I want to understand.
One can't exist without the other.
And one fuels the other and sustains it. The other one might have to be the one that publicly has to be out there. But there's the private part of you that actually has to always fuel it. It's like when people say, I build. I said, what's the foundation? You can build on whatever. Doesn't mean it's going to last. But it's funny when people parrot words. I'm building. Building what? And on what? This is the shit that goes in my head, Charles. I don't always speak out loud because I realize, how does it serve me to tell other people that they haven't done their own work? Because to me, I'm just going to sound obnoxious to them, and then they're going to challenge me. I said, well, that's interesting. A self-absorbed person making it about me, that's cleverness. I just choose to break my silence by talking or typing. Now, that might seem very egotistical, but they must know something about themselves to be able to understand me then. They would have to be very egotistical to understand another person that's playing the part of being egotistical. The only difference is I don't want to be led by it. I'll play the part, but I'm not going to be led by it. Most people, unfortunately, I'm not saying people here, but we're living in a realm where if most people are unaware, then it travels to that energy. Whether or not I'm aware, I still have to travel in that energy. I don't have that ability with my will to overcome everybody else. And then what, change them to? That would be a different kind of fucking game I would have to play.
Energy is, so far reading this book on witchcraft, and learning about, I remember in elementary school going to Massachusetts for a field trip, and they have like this place where they were persecuting these witches, and people pay money to go see it. It's crazy. They even had pilgrims, and they would have a play going on, like they were and what I'm seeing it with this religion of witchcraft is that these religions, like Christianity and all that, they've taken the old religion of witchcraft and apply it in their religion, but they desecrate. It seems they want to desecrate the witches to hide the fact. They don't want people knowing about witchcraft to hide the fact, and it'll reveal that Christianity, Catholic, Muslims, they all use witchcraft in the religion. You know, while they tell the witches are evil, and they're using the same craft in their religion. Most people don't even realize that. Which I'm not saying that's bad or good. It's just, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's a good term. It's just what it is. It depends on the person's intent. If you have the ability to wield some sort of energy, but you do it only for the sole purpose of yourself at the expense of others, yeah, people are going to think that's actually destructive. But if your intention is to do it to help other people, but they don't have discernment, they can't discern that energy that person's trying to do is to better other people, whether for this realm or for a future generation. Again, that's people, the masses being the issue, out of ignorance. They're wielding words, not even realizing the words we speak is a craft. Until they realize that, then they can say, okay, so when you say you're being an idiot, am I saying out of cleverness? Am I saying it out of sarcasm? Only I know, unless somebody else can read energy. And when I say read energy, it comes in many forms: body language, you know, the way my tonality. Some people literally just read energy. They can see things like colors. But
yeah,
But again, Charles, that disposes everybody has, not everybody, but quite a few of us probably have different types of gifts. Now, somebody else might turn around and say, but I want that gift too. I said, okay, well, you just saw a guy run under 10 seconds, 100 meter. Fill your boots. Let's see if you can do it. But most people are too busy caught up, but I want to win. I said, getting caught up in the outcome is not a gentleman's game. A gentleman actually doesn't worry about the outcome. Now, I'm just using their terminology. Usually they're controlling the outcome, so that's why they don't worry about it. But if you truly understand and respect energy, you're always in it. Air, the wind, the sun, the moon, that's all energy. Now, we can gauge it with sounds and frequency. Go ahead.
You say, I just want to say, when you say people, like a gentleman, don't worry about the outcome, do you mean like they're just living in the moment? They're not worried about what's going to happen in that moment, right then and there. Not focused on
it could be, but gentleman is usually a term that was set up by the people that are pretty well off, Charles. They think it's a disgrace by telling people you have a job. No, they're just gentlemen. They play their own game. But I'm just using that term. But you're saying something about being in the moment. Being in the moment, that's not even about being gentleman. You're just observing it, and you say words like "it is what it is." And it is. I'm just using words, and we're using words to describe the undescribable. But that's why people have to play around with words. Same with thoughts. And the fact that we're using an English language where if people could read energy, it has all kinds of connotation to those different words. Opposed to some languages, it's direct. That's the way it is. It doesn't change. And if it does, it's changing in another realm. Now, I'm just using the word realm now. And again, people will quickly say, well, I have my understanding what realm is. I said, well, then challenge it. Not me. Just challenge the word. You know, especially when you realize many words have been manipulated from other languages. And which one resonates? What today's language, we use English, it might be the photocopy of the photocopy of that language. And it might not have even been spoken or written. Now, some people will get upset because I only understand this language. I said, well, then play by those rules. Don't try to manipulate them to your advantage where you have to play with the language. The system's already set up. It's just a matter of us understanding, do I work with the system or do I fight the system?
Yeah, a lot of stuff you've said, Dom. I know I've said this before, but it's helped me, man, on my this journey in my life.
Mm-hmm. You probably have that ability.
No, I might not like some of the things you say.
That's why it works.
But it's so true. You know, I asked myself, why didn't I like when Dom said that? I was like, oh, because it's just true. Like some things you say is true. That it's so true that it kind of, I don't want to say hurts, but
if I can add, Charles, I'm not actually sharing other people what is true or truth. I might be true to myself. It will probably gauge oneself to see, are you willing to stand on with what you value? Are you okay with it? A person that's not okay with it will do defense and attack. I said, then what are you defending and what are you attacking? You know, again, it's just to test each other. You know, I'm usually testing myself, but for others, they might think I'm testing them. I said, I don't know enough about you to test you. But if it disturbs you, it might tell you that you're not true with yourself. You've standed on something you've truly never investigated. Because if you did, whether you're a crook, honest person, whatever you want to call yourself, you shouldn't be offended by somebody saying something that challenges you, let alone when they compliment you. A lot of people get quickly disturbed when somebody says, oh, what a beautiful car. Oh, thank you very much. That's a disturbance. It's just okay, thank you. If I told you wrong and said, listen, that car's, you could have bought a better car. Why would you say that? Oh, now you're going to start asking me questions. Well, before you would never have asked me a question. Your yes has to be yes and your no's have to be no's, unless you want to be consistent. Oh, that's interesting. You think God is this? Okay, that's interesting. Like I said, Charles, I like to entertain ideals. I'll gladly amuse myself with each other, but I like to entertain ideals. That's just how I perceive things. Other people, from what I get from them, and I'm old enough to realize that, other people are looking for answers. How I know that? Because I've done those things too. Sometimes I ask a question for an answer. Doesn't necessarily I'm always going to get an answer. I'm just going to get another possibility. But for some people, it's an answer. I said, does that answer work for every scenario? Probably not. I said, so then make sure that tool shed of yours has many tools. These are just cliche words, Charles. I'm not saying anything that's new. I might be putting them in ways, maybe my tonality, the way I present it, or maybe people already have an axe to grind with me. I'm like, who's me? You know, but that would pose more for them. Who are they? They like to play this little clever game by thinking they're going to denounce me. And then my question would be, how does that serve you? Isn't that what war is all about? You're trying to kill another human being when you've never lived in their vessel. Most people have never lived outside of their own vessel. So then what are they doing? What are they defending? They're defending their feelings and their mental capacity.
Defending an illusion.
Well, it is a play. Yes, Charles, very much. Yeah, it is an illusion. When we're looking through those eyes, the illusion is, I think I'm outside. Now, the ones that grasp what I just said, those are the few. The masses, they'll reveal themselves. They'll defend it, attack it. They'll go quickly to some other story. Let's talk about whether Donald Trump's going to be elected. Let's make sure that the elites aren't doing that. That's the distraction from being aware. You've always lived inside of that vessel. And even that's, you can even pose that as a question. How do I know that for sure? You don't. But you can at least seek it, unless we want somebody to teach us. And this is where we have schooling systems, or people have gurus, or they have shamans or mystics, which is fine. But anyway, without getting deviated, even though it all kind of ties up, we have many crafts, and one of them is a witchcraft based on a woman. We usually depict a woman as the witchcraft.
Right, and men are like lords or
wizards.
Warlocks, right?
Yeah, warlocks, wizards. Yeah.
I'm more like a wizard.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm gonna get a lot of shit, you know, when I say I like witchcraft, and
from who? Is there a name?
The haters, or people will demonize me, you know, put my name in vain and say all things about me when they don't even know me, because it's happened. But I ignore that type stuff because it's not their fault. They know no better.
Oh no, they should take responsibility for those words, and if they think it's a fault, so be it. You know, the haters, the ignorant ones, the masses, the demons themselves. You know, hence why when they say terms like, we're not fighting against flesh and blood, but against principality. Who's speaking? That's probably a demon speaking. We're not fighting against the humans. We're fighting about other lords above us. But everybody try to reverse it. Oh, we're the good guys. Not in this physical form. You're just a person that's having an experience. How can we truly be, as a species, think that we're the good guys when we can't even create the fucking sun and the clouds? We can manipulate them. But even that, are we doing that? Or is there the few beings that are able to do that stuff? But then we blame them for that. I said, well, then we should start blaming them for everything. The cars that they've introduced, the TVs, the airplanes, the technology we're using right now.
We're just an extension of the source.
And isn't that all alchemy? Wouldn't that be what's called witchcraft, wizardry work? You know, try to explain to anybody, Charles, even in oneself, like, how did Wi-Fi come to be? People will just give you other kinds of languages, like, oh, it was done in 1948. I'm like, okay, so you're giving me another craft, numerical numbers. But the question is, who gave that to us and how did it come to be? Well, I don't know, Dom. I said, bingo. But let's say you did know. How would you understand that? You would have to have discernment to know the difference is it wasn't a human race. Could have been another race. That's the start of it. I can't give an answer to that. I give possibilities. People don't want
say
possibilities.
witchcraft's evil.
It could be, but what's evil?
They do witchcraft without even knowing it when they're in their kitchen mixing herbs and spices, or just many forms, like you said, crafts.
If you manifest it into the physical, that's what's called evil. Black and white magic, from the unknown to the known. Is hence why you're spiritual opposed to material. An evil world. It's just a material world. It's because people already have a preset. They have to categorize things as like right or wrong. Do the narrow path, not the wide path. Those other two paths are cliffs. If you think everything is wrong, then you're going to assume everything on the opposite side is right.
Whose son? Oh, what's up, Lucid? I was wondering. I had to put that up because I didn't know it was you.
What's up, dude?
Not much. How's everything going, man?
What's going, man?
Motion? It wasn't. That was a serious issue. They were not in motion. Graveyards. Every time I drive by the graveyard, man, on the bus, I wonder. I just can't help but to wonder why they put our bodies in these boxes and then insert the box into a box, and then I don't know. And then I just look at these tombstones and wonder, where all these people go? Because I can't leave it alone. The fact that this can't be it, in my opinion. There's really no evidence and hardcore proof of this so-called afterlife, but maybe reincarnation is a strong possibility.
So what do you think the concept of a graveyard actually does to the psyche? Like, you don't see all of us in graveyards, in this case the forms, and all animals. Do they have a graveyard, or actually is there a cleanup crew that actually starts cleaning it? Like when an animal dies, it usually has a certain smell to it because it's attracting probably different kinds of cleanup crew, like flies, and then other animals like
I like
crows.
that, Dom.
Yeah, they are cleanup crew. So now when you see the concept where they play the game of only the elites, more times than not, they'll have their tombstones. And then at the same time, you think that they buried the body underground. I said, that's to reinforce that you think you're the body. If a person drives by McDonald's, probably there's more remains of humans than actually in those graveyards.
Dang.
But again, that's the illusion that we play. That reinforces that you think you're the body. Because if you're the body, then you should be able to explain yourself to them. Where do I go when I go to sleep? Who's running it right now? Who's running the liquids in my body? People never have those kind of thoughts. What they're doing is they're reinforcing the program. And the program is that I think I'm my thoughts and my body. I said, no, it's when you start challenging it. So then if these are my thoughts, then shouldn't I be able to speak all languages then? Because that's where thoughts come from. It's called the mind. But even that, I'm just using another word to describe things. Most people don't want to challenge that. They want to reinforce the program. And then if you believe that you're the body, then they can play the birth certificate game on you now. You can't be something that you're not. That's the illusion. That's what some people might call the trap. But that's the way I call it, like a lot of people, like Buddhism, the attachment. You're attached to it. But that takes a lot of effort because now you have to deprogram yourself, meaning you observe and say, so what about the language? The language has its own kind of attachments to it. What about numbers? What about colors? Schooling system is just to teach people for commerce. Religion is commerce. Teaches how to sell an ideal. There's a God in heaven. And if you don't believe there's a God, then you can believe you're a God, which we could be. I'll entertain the ideal. But how would I prove it?
And what, you know, depending on what a person means by a God, I only say I'm a God, meaning not that I'm higher than anyone or a controller type. I'm just saying I'm in control of my path that I carve in life.
It could be. As there's different energies around you that could denounce all of that. We could be the essence to things, Charles. I'll entertain that for myself. We could be the essence to things. You know, hence why we don't see air. I don't anyway. Some people might have that ability. I don't see air, but I realize we use words to describe things. I'll see the effects. I'll see a leaf moving in what's called air, but I still don't see the cause. I don't know where thoughts come from, so I can only see the effects. So we use language, spoken, and once you speak, now you're entertaining sounds and frequency. If you read something, now you're engaging your imagination. When I say read, you're just looking at a book. You're not learning, reading out loud, but if you did, you're doing a couple of things now. You're engaging your imagination, and at the same time, you're speaking out loud. And everybody has it. Yeah, probably most people have a different tonality to their voice.
Yeah, I'm very interested in light, sound, frequency. Those are like my favorite topics. And being able to, now I'm learning about casting the circle. And when I was reading about casting the circle, I was thinking, can you use the square? You know, even the Masons use the same format as witches do in their craft. It's the same format.
To be fair to what people perceive as Masons, the few, it's like anything else. All academies, they're always looking for the few. Most Masons are not aware. You could be a high 33 grade Mason and you could be the dumb as a doorknob. But that's not an insult to them. It's just that they figured they join a club. That's like talking to a Christian or a guy that votes or whatever and said, well, I vote for democracy. I said, doesn't mean you understand it. You just cast a vote. Cast a vote.
That's true.
You know, so again, Masonry is better to understand what it serves to whoever does it. Forget about what they do with it, because most of them aren't. They're not going to be like a Pike or a Manly P. Hall.
Like, I was thinking the other day, words. I got, you know, ever since Dom started coming to my channel, believe it or not, I think more of what I'm going to say and what words. I know I'm, you know, sometimes I'm still ignorant to some stuff, but like I was thinking, when they charge you with a charge, like when you're being arrested, or you're being hit with charges, right? Then I thought, damn, they hit you with charges and then summoned you in court. I mean, all this words they're using, man, it goes over a lot of people's heads.
What do you have to drag in court when you get summons?
Your fleshly body.
Bingo. You're not that thing. That's why when people read scriptures like Bibles or whatever, what is it trying to save? What is it trying to make aware? Not the vessel. The vessel is a mortal thing, hence morality. That's a mortal thing. We should learn how to steward it, but with all this new technology, or I can't even say it's new technology, with all this kind of advancement or whatever, it's actually harming the body even more. Even for the people that truly want to steward their vessels are struggling. Because you got to deal now with radio frequencies, Wi-Fi, you know, the noise of planes going over top of you, cars everywhere. It's challenging. I love it when, you know, when people say, you know, but I raised my kids. I said, did you teach them how to breathe? No. So you really haven't done much yet, have you? But again,
shit, even the fight to get into the ovaries or whatever, to fight to get into the egg as a sperm. I tell people, be like, man, I'm nothing in life. I'm like, bro, out of all them sperm, you made it. You're more special than you think. I'll never forget when someone told me that, and it made me look at things in a little more positive light. Just that years ago, someone said that to me.
What about if there's a computer and all those different boards and all those little soldering that has to be done, but meanwhile the program, in this case Siri, has not even been put in there yet? So you're talking from all the sperms to recreate or reincreate the form. But if we're not those things, we come in after.
Yeah, I've always thought that, like, you know, I kind of picture like our energy, spirit, soul, whatever people want to use to describe it, picking, like, the body is like a cymatic taking shape of the frequency. It's like just a car. It's just you're getting in your car and experiencing this realm, because without getting in this car, you can't experience this realm like you do through the flesh.
Probably wouldn't be able
it's
to
like a spacesuit, you know?
We probably wouldn't be able to explain it to others, but there's a good chance when we're in that unknown part. Again, I can only speculate at that point, because maybe there is a data recovery, like, you know, like the soul. Whatever we learn here stays here. So I can't come back unless there's a way of doing things consciously. And then you get rewarded. It's okay, you can come back again in another lifespan, and you can be aware of certain things. So you can go to a library and pick up some of my old data that I did. That's why they have soul contracts. Basically, whatever you perform here stays here. So whatever language we use stays here. That's why when we come back, we have to be reprogrammed or programmed to learn a language. Many languages, numbers, colors, spoken languages, body language. Again,
I like the way you compare things to a computer. And what do you think, like, they say they can upload your memory, right, of this lifetime, and then put you into a cyborg, you know? But I don't believe that's you. It might be just a memory of what you did, but it's not your actual essence. You know what I mean?
Well, you do hear about people say that they download. They do say people that do download, so therefore the upload does work. But what are they uploading and downloading? Data, information that doesn't belong to us. It's when we say things like, but they're my thoughts. I said, that's where you become conditioned with yourself. You're experiencing thoughts. You're observing thoughts. You get to use thoughts. Now, somebody said, but I own them. I said, okay, so then do you own the word the? Do you own the word hello? No, you don't. You get to experience them. And for some people, if not a lot of people, if they choose to, you can observe it before you actually speak them or write them. Those are afterthoughts. The spoken and the written work is afterthoughts. You can be in thoughts. But again, I'm speaking to the few. The few could be millions. The masses, no, they're still asleep. Let them fucking continue with their games. That's not for them. If they choose to hear something as a nugget, that's so be it. Outside of that, Charles, I usually talk past the masses.
What do you think about? Sorry, I thought you were done. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Charles. Go ahead, Charles.
Because I heard one of the conversations you and Axis were speaking on his live, and I think you guys are speaking on, you know, where do thoughts come from, and you know, not my whole life, but probably from 10, between 9 and 11 on, is when I started to really think and try to figure out what the voice in my head is and where the thoughts come from. I was so interested in that. And then you know, the ether, I picture the ether, like I've said before, a cord or like a highway for information. And us being the tower, getting the signal.
Well, you're entertaining ideals at that point, Charles, and that's what I pick up from you. You're willing to entertain ideals. You know, it's when people only want answers. I said, well, then you're not entertaining ideals. Why? Because the picture that you're in or the box that people like to talk about, usually the people that are clever usually say, I'm thinking outside of the box. I said, no, you're just ignorant, because there's many different versions within the box, that matrix, whatever word you want to use, and it all serves different ways. Again, that's a person that's self-absorbed and they're just parroting information, not to insult a poor parrot, but even a parrot would be able to speak differently if you ask it to ask different kinds of questions. You know, we do reveal ourselves, Charles, in the sense that people will say things like, I see past the box, you know, half full, half empty. You know, the people that like to play the earth's shape and all that, they're asleep. Let them continue playing their games, because if they're honest with themselves, they realize, hey, you guys been high enough to prove it one way or the other. And even if one person says yes, I said, then how would you share that with the rest of us? And how would that serve? If I saw an alien, how would I explain that to anybody else? I could try with a language, but unless people say, Dom, you're trustworthy, I said, but you still didn't experience it. And for most people,
Right.
they say words like, I won't believe it until I see it. I said, no, at that point you would know of it. This is how people speak. Their speech is so erroneous. A belief system is exactly what it is. It's a belief system. There's no way I can prove if a guy named Jesus ever existed. So I would have to apply a belief system. But if I met him, now I know of him, but I don't know nothing of him, meaning that I don't know what his integrity is. I don't know what his intention is. Now other people say, yeah, but I read a book. I said, he never wrote nothing, supposedly. Those are clever games that people play with each other, but most people
they don't know the difference though, Dom. Some people don't know the difference between reading about an elephant and actually petting and seeing the element in the physical.
Yep, you're right.
They
Charles.
think there's no difference.
That's discernment. Now you would have to have discernment, wisdom. To understand something from knowledge, you would have to have something in the middle, which would be wisdom, discernment. Now, I'm just using words. People can use whatever they want. They can call it Maya. They can call it karma. They can call it, I tapped into some sort of record, which is fine. But when they're talking, as long as they're not always making it about them, most people get caught up in the me, personal. Most of this realm shouldn't be about always being personal. When it's in your own little world, yes, you can ask for that. But for most people, when they're praying or inquiring to some other unknown entity, it's self-gratifying. They're not interested in being of service to others. Being of service to others, this is how it boomerangs. This is how you pass it forward. In a long about way, it'll come back to me in many ways. If you're being harmful to another person, in a long about way, it'll come back to you. Maybe not in this lifespan. It might come in another lifespan. Now, people say, I don't believe in that. I say, well, yeah, of course you don't believe in that, but you'll believe in a guy that you never met. Okay, fill your boots. This is the shit that goes in my head, Charles. I'm just talking out loud with you because I get it.
Oh, I went through my head too.
Yeah. You grasp this. Yeah.
How are we putting trust in a deity we never met? We don't know who that deity truly is or what that, you know, and people will put more trust into these deities than the two people they can prove gave them the true life is their mother and father. That's factual. It's right there. Boom. But the illusion they think is more important. It's wild. That's the psychological war is exactly what it's psychological war. It's
you know, everybody gets toys. They should be able to go in their own little room within themselves and play with it, break it,
they
take it
keep
apart.
us in that state, the child state.
Yeah, it's very childlike. It's usually that. Usually child stage. Usually it's revealing something to do with the emotions. You know, they probably at a certain age, nobody really truly taught them or give them the tool set to understand, you know, how to deal with an emotions. You know, I'm being excited. Okay, so did you also learn how to be scared, be frightened, to be, you know, happy? Hence why most people are caught up in their positive energy, the masculine energy, programmable energy. First impression for most people is lasting impression.
If you could unmute, Lucid, I muted you. So, because Dom was talking and your son was learning, your son was sounding out sound, trying to create a language.
His son was probably telling all of us that we're full of crap. He has to use baby language. I Lucid.
I was listening to Bro Sanchez the other day, and he said somebody was explaining, like he was explaining the ether or the energy that's around the firmament, the ether, this alleged barrier that's there, and that makes it an enclosed system. And he explained the ether. Someone said, well, what's the ether? What element is the ether? Because he was talking about the 4 elements and then the ether being the 5th. And then Bro said, well, the ether is all the elements in one. That's why it contains them. My mind was like, you know, it might not be that like intelligent, you know, but to me it was mind blowing because for some odd reason I haven't thought of it like that.
Yeah, I think that the ether could be intelligence, you know.
Right.
You know, the human spirit.
Because here they got the spirit as the center and then the elements around it. Dom fell out. He probably lost signal or had a phone call. I mean, I like the witchcraft. I think if I just for me, for some odd reason, I relate to that more than Christians and all that other stuff. Just the earth alone, man. We're being like completely ripped from being connected with the earth in certain ways. And when I start studying trees and all that, like the plants are just so powerful and amazing. Their properties, the healing properties of plants and herbs, and is very important to the body. A lot of this stuff should be taught in school and would put us in a better state of being, but unfortunately that to me that's not what school's about. It's not about elevating the individual, it's about fucking controlling the individual. Yeah, you're right, Christos. I've always been attached to the craft, but I was taught otherwise by outside sources like church and these preachers that are just priests, you know. As I'm reading this book, man, like I said to Dom, I said, man, when you look into witchcraft, I think these the other religions like Christian, Catholic, Muslim, and so on and so forth, a million other types of Christians, they denounce witchcraft because people start looking into witchcraft. It's going to reveal that all these religions are using witchcraft. Their credibility will go out the window. That's why they're trying to hide witchcraft. Because people are using it. So hypocritical. Christianity's the newest religion, if I'm not mistaken, right? I spoke to a guy from India, and I said, you know we're God, right? And he goes, yes. Because I asked him about in India, I said, they teach that we are gods and goddesses, and he said, yeah. I said, well, wonder what happened to Dom. That sucks. Oh, he wrote in the back. My fault. I just seen it. Dom, I forget he leaves a note. He had to go. He said he had to go on his hike. Peace, Dom. Thanks for coming up. Have fun on your hike, man. You know, get that peace and quiet. I got to get me one of them. I talk shit about motorized bikes, but I need to get a scooter. I'd be up at the trails right now if it wasn't such a fucking hike to the top of there. In the Groove. Shout out to the Groove, man. He just dropped a video called Scum of the Toilet Bowls. It says it's patiently absurd that Apple isn't smart enough to make their own AI yet. Is somehow capable of ensuring that open AI will protect your security and privacy. Apple has no clue what's actually going on. Once they hand your data over to OpenAI, they're selling you down the river. Yeah, this world's fucked. Fuckity fuckity fucked. Just like this guy said, man, if people can't, we gotta, I know people say, oh, the system's corrupt and this and that and it's rigged. Yeah, and it's gonna stay that way until we can do something about it. And this guy, I want to learn more about suing these people because he's going to town meetings and showing how corrupt the mayor is and all the people that work. They break the laws frequently, so that opens up lawsuits. I'm about to hit me up a town meeting and start being, expressing myself. And if they boot me out, I'm just going to start really lighting fires up under their ass, taking them to court. Enough's enough. If every people in every town and city could start doing this, that corruption, they're all linked together like a web. You got to start chopping that web up, man. Or not we. Let me not say we. I'm speaking for me, man. I want to start chopping that web up. I always do that. I don't mean to say we. I'm speaking for me. It's only 7:30 for Lucid.
It's 8:30. 8:30 here.
2 hours back.
Yep. What's doing, boy?
Elios. What's up, Elios?
Who is that? Little.
Man, that's awesome, man. That's awesome.
What's that?
Having a child, man. That's one regret I have, believe it or not, is I should have just created a beautiful child with the woman I was with when I was 18. Instead, I was scared. I ain't gonna front. I didn't want a child I create to grow up with no father like me, or I don't know if that's a gift or a fucking curse that I made that decision, but it's never too late. I'm still young and vibrant.
Man, it's frustrating sometimes. Yeah, I got the whole world. It's after his, soul, so to speak.
That's why you're the Lord Guardian.
It's the food industry. It's the entertainment. I don't trust none of it, dude.
You should take your. This says the power of water to accept with ease and grace what I cannot change. The power of fire for the energy and the courage of things I can. The power of air for the ability to know the difference, and the power of earth for the strength to continue my path. So mote it be.
So mote it be. Mm.
I forgot what I was gonna say. I started reading instead.
Yeah, man. I don't know. The whole you know, we are God's thing. I mean, it's true to an extent. You know, we are part of that source. You know, is there a character up in the sky watching everything we do?
No.
I couldn't say that. You know,
Maybe an eye in the sky with a camera.
the sun. The sun is watching you, is conscious type shit.
Well, I know there's cameras up on satelloons or whatever people want to call them, floating up in there. Hell yeah. I think they've been watching us forever. Like, even in the 1800s, they probably had secret cameras and shit. Like, I don't know. I would love to start. Oh yeah, this video I want to show everyone of how this guy was in the woods and he found this. Let me show you. Let's hope I could upload it. I hope I downloaded it. As a matter of fact, I don't think I did. Let me check. Now that I can't share my hot dogs. What's today's date?
The
22 weeks. 2 fucking weeks. Yeah, they better unlock my phone. Because it said after a year, your phone would be unlocked. Now, it should have been unlocked when I bought it. It's my phone. I fucking paid for it. But they have it locked with the company. So you can't use no other company. That's wild. As a matter of fact, I got to get it unlocked. Let's see.
What are you, straight talk cricket?
The Eye of Province.
Yep.
I have. What is this called? Hold on. It starts with an M.
Stand up. Stand up. There you go. Yeah.
Let's see. I'm looking for this. Oh.
Here. This. Some water. Some water.
Praise Jesus. He will save your life. Psych. I have to start getting some of this, or not have to, let me rephrase that. I want to get this supplement. I gotta ask Christos about it, see what he says. Maybe.
What is it?
It's a supplement. I took a screenshot of it. I got it. I gotta dig it up, but it's a supplement with all these different type of like mushrooms and stuff to replace coffee. But the problem I have with supplements is a lot. Like, I don't know what to trust. That's the problem.
Man, I would go with the raw material. Like, if you're gonna do mushrooms, get the actual mushroom, because they could grind up whatever and put it in pill form, and you don't really know what you're getting. Whereas if you have the actual substance, cordyceps, lion's mane, whatever, you can identify and know that you have the actual compound.
Damn, I wonder what's up with AK, man. AK, I want to know if he's still, locked up and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want to write a letter because it's been months already. I fucked up and Just, you know, no disrespect to AK, but
Does anybody talk to his wife?
that's another thing. I feel odd calling somebody's wife and shit, you know what I mean? Like, that ain't... I was raised, you don't...
He's our bro, dude. I don't think that he would be upset. It would be the same thing if you were trying to hit up Rose, you know?
Well, yeah, when Rose that day, she was looking for me when that happened, man. I felt weird. I'm like, what? How is she? And then I thought, oh, man, son, gotta be. Yeah, I should give her a call somehow. I think Facebook. She's on Facebook, and I think she did come here. That's how I got his address. She came to the stream one day, and I asked her. I still have the address and everything, and I want to know if he's home or not, so I could send it. You know, he could have got transferred, anything.
Yeah.
And if you do send it to where he was, it might follow him, but it might not.
What's the matter, Bubba?
Uh-oh. Okay. Let's do this. There's this video I watched. This guy was a DJ. He was singing, I'm late for work. Who seen that one? And he was like singing to his boss. And what you gonna do about it? That dude was bugged out. I said, I'm late for work. What you gonna do about it?
Shit last night. Give me 2 seconds, Chuck. Sorry, man.
Cool. I'm uploading these videos anyway. Damn, that's quick. It's culture. Haha. Corny. What did I say? I don't even remember, man. About being a god. Big baby Jesus. I can't wait. Every time I see that name, Christos, Big Baby Baby Jesus, it makes me think of that Old Dirty Bastard song.
Yeah, man.
On that album, Nigga Please.
Yeah, I've been enjoying the back and forth with you and Jay Phillips, man. And I just wanted to let you know I can send you some brands that I trust. Or Jay Phillips is right. Ultimately, like, there's, you know, wholesale vendors and whatnot where you can just get the raw material of, like, per se, the lion's mane or whatnot. And so, but I would still say there's a couple of brands that I trust at least, with the purity and the quality. And yeah, I'll send you some stuff here today, man, later today. I'd be happy to kind of send you in the right direction with that stuff.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
because
sure,
I need something to heal and feel like my brain is like misfiring and shit. like a car engine. I need new spark plugs.
You need iodine. Like the two things that I realized over the past 2 years that everyone's deficient in, and you'll see a very noticeable change initially for the first couple of weeks, would be magnesium and iodine. And there's a lot of different forms of it, so like you gotta be conscious about getting a supplement brand that has multiple kinds. Like for example, magnesium, you can get ones that have a bunch of different types, or you just gotta be conscious of, is it citrate, is it malate, is it what's the other one? L-threonate. Magnesium L-threonate. It's like L-theanine, which is an amino acid. It sounds like that, but basically it's a form of magnesium that passes the blood-brain barrier more than any other magnesium. So I've looked into this stuff a lot, but what I meant to get at was the iodine. Like I get an iodine supplement that has 3 types of iodine, because the way our bodies are, like not everyone can absorb and take in certain types of nutrients like other people. So certain forms are better for other people, but the best way to go at it is just take all the different forms in one usually, and that way, there's no way you can miss getting the benefits out of it.
I think I am
a lot of deep
deficient
stuff, man.
because
Well, go
I
ahead,
remember in prison, I started taking these vitamins, man, and I've seen a difference in my memory. Like, I forgot, but I remember people, like even a doctor saying that if you lack, it's all about alchemy. That's why alchemy is important. I didn't know about all these salts that your body needs, and like all this stuff to keep your whole body balanced and functioning correctly.
Yeah, real salt. You want to get real salt, so like best stuff would be Redmond's brand, straight out of Utah from the Mormons, in the salt mines of Utah and all that jazz. Like that's gonna be better than pink Himalayan salt, or you could get like Celtic sea salt. You want to get the realest, purest salt you can. So I feel you on that.
Yeah, people say go to the ocean, but if you go to the ocean, the water could be fucked. You never know.
Well, yeah, there is that. There is something with whole salt water and then like tropical energy. Like there's something there. But what's funny about you bringing up like the water and the beach and all that, the ocean, vitamin D, people often say is not actually a vitamin, but it's a hormone that's super essential in our body for like all these other functions that we have. And that's why I brought up magnesium and iodine along with vitamin D, or hormone D, if you want to call it that. These things are essential for a bunch of metabolic processes and cellular detox. All these things that our body needs to do, basically can't properly function as an input-output energetically unless you got these key things, being those 3 that I mentioned. And then there's the stuff on top that you can add, like lion's mane, and there's the stuff you don't technically need, but it's going to help. It's going to have the antioxidants, stuff for your brain and cognition. Like, I'm not a health master, but certainly I've started figuring all these things out, and it does work from when I started implementing the supplementation.
Becoming aware of, the plants around you can be really helpful. Obviously, dandelions, they're great for your heart. There's a reason why Bayer Aspirin owns the patent for Roundup. And it's like these companies are trying to keep people out of the loop and uninformed. I don't know.
Yeah, that was fire. That's a great point, man.
It's like, dude, you can you can actually cure heart palpitations with dandelion. I was having heart palpitations, and a couple of cups of dandelion tea, it's gone. So I guess becoming
Word.
aware of these substances that grow naturally around us all, you know, basic free curing of any dis-ease that you have. They don't want you to know these compounds exist out in nature.
Yeah, reishi and chaga mushrooms as well.
Yep.
Chaga is good for your DNA, which is kind of crazy when you look into that.
Shit, I've been going through and researching or searching all these plants that grow naturally around, you know, my habitation, and man, I can't find any reason why I would ever go back to buying shit from the stores. I mean, it's really time for people to start boycotting these corporations. It's really time for people to start doing for themselves and becoming knowledgeable about these compounds that are growing around them, because it's free medicine.
Yeah, it's time for us to start being accountable and responsible as the beings that we are.
Yeah.
What we're truly capable of doing with self-sufficiency. I agree.
And knowing about these poisons that they're putting in the products that we're all purchasing.
Yeah. I made a video on that. I think you were here, Lucid. We were going over ingredients. I've done that a few times. But people get, like in aspartame, that's a bubble gum, and all this stuff. When I see people chewing bubble gum, I think, what are they releasing into their brain? Like, what chemicals is in there? It's fucked.
You know what endocrine disruptors are? They're aromatic substances that they put in like deodorant, shampoo, soap, that affects your endocrine system. And that's basically your reproductive system. But I mean, these substances are basically giving people cancers. And instead of you know, becoming aware of this, they would rather just go along to get along, so to speak. You know, I have to have, you know, good smelling armpits. My armpits, you know, they got to smell like Old Spice. Old Spice is the number one user of those endocrine disruptors, and everybody is using that shit.
That's interesting because, you know, estrogen was brought up to my attention yesterday. I was contemplating xenoestrogen, whatever it's called, which goes right along with the endocrine system disruption that Lucid was talking about. And if you're eating real organic food, you're not going to be needing deodorants as much, because you're not going to be off-putting bad odor because you're not intaking toxic food. A lot of bad odor comes from toxic diets. And, you know, it's not to say don't use any type of deodorant. There's volcanic clay ash and all this other stuff that doesn't have aluminum or all the crap that Lucid was talking about. There's plenty of alternatives when it comes to deodorant and these different things. A lot of natural stuff that people are becoming more hip to, and there's becoming more of a market for as well, for better or for worse. Obviously, there's some nonsense that goes on with people trying to claim it's this and that, make it organic as a selling point, but they're not actually doing it in the true principle. People doing these halfway things just so they can slap a label on to try to appeal to the newer demographics of people that are aware of the toxins and GMO and organic, non-organic. So still got to have discernment, because plenty of things that are organic but are jacked up with sugar. If you look at the label, like, you know, there's still the traps even within that like health conscious market.
Bubba.
This is bugged out, man. I downloaded a fucking commissary sheet from 2006, or no, this can't be, because I can't find. I wanted to see what type of vitamins I was taking, and they took vitamins off of the commissary sheet. That's wild, bro. Anything to stop a prisoner from being healthy. They took the weights, you know. I used to use water bags, but anyway. Damn, how could you take vitamins off the fucking sheet? The Spanish dictionary is $1.82. An English dictionary is $2.68. Multivitamin. Oh no, they're right here, $4.49. That's right, the same price. Multivitamin. Damn, I thought it would say the brand. It don't. Anyway, the point is, lacking certain minerals could be detrimental to the body and its function. But yeah. Oh yeah, let me play these videos real quick. Check this shit out. This guy was hiking and he found this allegedly.
Something shocking happened when this man, while walking near his property in the mountains, noticed strange and unnatural rocks, which he decided to approach and study. But accidentally touching the hole, a carefully disguised passage opened before his eyes. Immediately, deciding to invite specialists, they arrived at the site and found more than 100 such caches around the rock. Having made their way inside the secret passages, everyone was surprised because of the scale of the tunnels and rooms. The military immediately came forward to study it and completely banned all mention of this place. It was unclear why there was such secrecy and what they were trying to hide inside the huge mountain. Perhaps in the past, it was a secret military base that was only discovered now. What do you think was there?
Well, I think those things they were opening up, fucking, hold on.
Something shocking happened when this man, while walking near his property in the mountains, noticed strange and unnatural rocks, which he decided to approach and study. But accidentally touching the hole, a carefully disguised passage opened before his eyes. Immediately, deciding to invite specialists, they arrived at the site and found more than 100 such caches around the rock.
Why is it shaped like a triangle?
Passages, everyone was surprised because of the scale of the tunnels and rooms. The military immediately came forward to study it and completely banned
I would have never
all
said
mention of this
anything.
place. It was unclear why there was
Why
such
would you go
secrecy
tell the
and what
military
they were trying to hide
or the
inside
police?
the huge mountain? Perhaps in the past,
Wild.
it was a secret military base that was only discovered now. What do you think was there?
Who cares what was there? He said it was. Did he say on his property? Hold up.
Something shocking happened when this man, while walking near his property in the mountains, noticed strange and unnatural.
Near his property. I would have said shit. I would have went in there, locked and loaded, cleared it out, and then kept it for straight up. Look at this shit. This is us in America.
These are placed inside the jar, and the lid is then sealed. They are left undisturbed for 3 days. Then, when the jar is opened, the fleas will not jump out. In fact, the fleas will never jump higher than the level set by the lid. Their behaviour is now set for the rest of their lives. And, when these fleas reproduce, their offspring will automatically follow their example.
Wow, that's wild. Wicked, wicked, wicked. We're a bunch of fleas on God's balls. That's blasphemous, Chuck.
Yep. Give us some apple.
I'll tell the person, your fucking ignorance is blasphemous. My ears.
Oh, man.
It would be nice to,
Worm or what? Worm. I may have ate it.
the platonic solids. That's wild that he found that, near his property, that all those false rocks and shit that were at entranceways. That's wild. Like I said, I wouldn't have said anything. That I would have made that my survival fort and shit, right? Why say something? I would have went and purchased the property on the down low and said nothing, right? I would have said, hey, what are you doing with that acre of land over there, and bought it, and then they can't tell you shit because it's your land, right? Allegedly, but we know the military would probably just bully them. But still, I would try. I wouldn't say nothing. If it's nobody there, what's the big deal then? Obviously they don't want it. But anyway, I think it's just wild the way the country's ran and how the world works and how we just put up with this shit. The world's under one big spell. They set the tone, as you would say, right? They set the frequency, more or less. I think that ringing and you hear in your ears, that tone, that's the natural fucking, or a synthetic man-made frequency that is off balancing Mother Earth's frequency. How do we know Mount Meru isn't an artificial mountain? Some sort of a machine put there. Or it's some sort of a rock that emits frequency, or makes me wonder what they're doing with CERN and shit. But I'm about to jump off of here in about 15 minutes, I guess. It's pretty bland. Peace, Jay Heighton. Yeah, I'm very keen on. That's why the youth. Like what's wrong with naming the stars? Like, to tell you the truth, when I look at some of these stars, I don't see what they see. Shit. When I look at the stars, it's hard to see them, period. Because there's so much interference of light. Yeah, I gotta go on a spiritual journey next month for sure. I gotta figure that out. Get one of those pens and vape. DMT vapes. Um, think I'm gonna find that movie where my favorite kung fu actor fucking, yeah, he's my favorite, but I forget his name sometimes. That's wild, right?
Who was that, Chuck?
No, I'm trying to think of the fucking actor's name that's in 36 Chambers. His name is Gordon Liu. Damn. His name's Gordon Liu. He's one of the best kung fu actors, in my opinion, one of them. And the RZA uses a lot of stuff from the movies he was in. And one movie he was in the Shaolin Temple, and they were hitting this like thing, like it sounded like they were hitting it like that as they chanted the vowels. I think it was like they were tapping it, but they were all these old like masters with long beards and shit. And yeah, I was in the Shaolin Temple in the mountains, and it was about sound. Like that's the level he didn't make it to yet. He stumbled upon this part of the temple. He wasn't supposed to be there. He was young still, and they made him sit under a bell, right? And they had to hit the bell, bam, while he's sitting in the middle, and his nose and ears started bleeding and shit. The master was like, nope. But of course, he was able to sit under there and take the full, ring. Surprised it didn't pop his head like a pimple. Telling you, man. The Shaolin monks, that's the type of craft I want to get into. He'll be breaking your bones. It'll sound like a transformer transforming. You ever see the movies Lucid where they're fighting kung fu, and the dude will use his fingers and fucking hit these like, I don't know if they're pressure points or fucking, but when he hits them, the person can't move their arm and shit. I don't know if that's real, but I doubt it.
Could be.
Maybe. But I like that part where he'd be like, and the guy can't move. And then you'll do it again, and the guy can move. I learned a lot from them kung fu movies. I probably watched over 200 of them. I mean, all of them have wisdom that you can apply to life.
Definitely. Especially Bruce Lee movies.
I talk shit about religion, but even those books have stuff you could apply to life. I mean, they're books with wisdom and knowledge.
Absolutely.
But people take it to that next level and worship the sigils and sounds.
No.
Yeah, right on, Chuck. Dude, I'm gonna get out of here, bro.
Perfect. Thanks, bro, for coming up.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
I'm about to dip out myself. Peace to the chat. Crystal, Jay Heighton, Fools and Tools, Danny. Who else came through? Man, peace to the whole chat.
Straight up.
Nothing but love and respect to everybody. Have a great day. And I'll check y'all again next time.
We'll see you guys later.
Peace.